Hi, you're listening to Oh Crap with Jamie. This is a podcast for parents working hard to break the cycles while dropping the F-bomb a lot. I'm your host, Jamie Glowacki, and I am the author of Oh Crap Potty Training and Oh Crap I Have a Toddler. And I am so happy you're here. Hey guys, welcome. So this episode is a continuation of the Not All About the Hormones, part 2, and the things that I do to support and regulate hormones, all the other hormones, not just the reproductive hormones. Before we start though, I wanted to tack on a little bit more about what I talked about with teenagers the last time, because in between this podcast and the last podcast, I did a reel on Instagram sort of comparing toddlers to teens, like how teens are just physically so much easier. And by and large, it was like, a lot of parents were like, thank you, I feel so validated. Like, these years of under 6 years old are just the physically most demanding on you. And of course, teenagers have their own ball of wax, but it's just physically easier. And of course, some people came on. Largely, it was like very positive. I feel seen. I feel validated. But there were people who were like, this is so untrue. Teenagers are miserable. Teenagers are awful. And quite a few people said something like to the effect of, I love the early years. And then, somewhere around 11 or 12, it changed. And the people who were seeking validation for teenagehood being hard were like repetitive about it's miserable and it's awful and something changed. And so I want to kind of bring back the whole point of my work, which, I credit Kim Jong-Payne. I swear I heard him say this at an in-person event. However, I don't ever see it in writing. So I want to credit him, but I'm not even sure if it's his anymore because I can't find anything written about it. But it's the 0 to 6 govern and 6 to 12 garden and 12 to 18 guide. And this is so important because yes, somewhere around the age of 12, could be 11, could be 12, could be 13, it switches. And so we have to switch. We have to switch gears. And that becomes another gear of parenting. And as you've heard me talk about so much on this podcast, is one of the things about the misconstruing of gentle parenting in this last sort of decade of parenting is it's parents attempting to guide the 0 to 6. But at some point, you are going to have to govern your child. And so if you spend the early years attempting to guide, not only are those years going to be harder, but you might have to govern in the other areas. And I know that then what happens is parents then have to govern in the 12 to 18. And this is miserable because your child's developmental job as a young adult in that 12 to 18 range, their entire job is individuation. And that's what we talk about with 3-year-olds. They go through a similar thing, recognizing they're separate from you and they pull away. They have free will and choice. That's why you get the three-nager. You get a rebellion because they have to separate from you and learn how to be on their own. This requires us to go into another gear of parenting, which when we start to guide, I have very bad news for you. You are no longer your child's favorite person. They get peer oriented. They want to be with their friends. This is real and very well documented. It's a psychological process. If you are gripping too tight, if you have to govern, if you are afraid that you are now a backseat driver, if you are not attuned to the fact that you now become background noise, you are going to suffer. If you try to ingratiate yourself into their lives, if you are constantly questioning, constantly giving lessons, constantly gripping the reins too tight, you're going to see horrible behavior in your kid. They have to get away from you. It's their job. And that's how they become independent adults. And so we have to be there as the bumpers, accepting some of the things that we talked about, like that look like disrespect, that look like this is them fighting for their own personhood. And we have to accept that now we are guiding, which means we take a backseat role. We are not front and center. And I really, really think that's what these women who are commenting on my thread, but I think that's what happens when you have a hard time with a teenager. So it kind of points to all the work we do here on the podcast, and you as my listeners who have been following along. We have to let that go. And it's incredibly hard. And don't get me wrong, there are certain situations, obviously the mistakes they make can be life altering. And of course, there'll be intervention if your child, you suspect drug use or alcohol use or severe depression or intrusive thoughts or, God forbid, negative thoughts towards society, like journals full of I'm going to shoot up a school. Those kinds of things need severe intervention. If your child gets up with the wrong crowd, the wrong girl, and you know where this is going, yes, that's when we monitor phones. That's when we we step in and take a more active role. That absolutely has to happen sometimes. But generally speaking, I always want to provide kids with the opportunity to show up, presumed innocence until proven guilty, And I just think so many parents are choking and throttling the teen years when you have to do this delicate dance of like, yeah, you got to hang on to the reins, but you shouldn't be gripping. You've got a wild thoroughbred stallion in front of you, a wild unbroken Mustang. Yes, you have to hang on to the reins, but you're just going to throttle the process if you do that, and it's just going to backfire, and your child's going to be it'll be awful. So I wanted to mention that. Okay, let's jump into continuing with female hormones and that business. And I have a couple of things that I want to lay out before I jump into that. I actually have recorded this second part. I said this about the first part, but I've also recorded this, I think, 3 times now. And the last time was too long. And I also dropped the F-bomb so many times that it was like unlistenable too. So I'm going to be much more conscious of that, even though I can't promise there won't be 1 or 2, but I literally could not send that one out because we have to talk about a few things before we get started. And that is, number 1, the incredible things stacked against us as women, particularly in the USA and our healthcare system, but all over the world. We have a raw deal. We need to acknowledge that. And this isn't to say anything about men. This is systemic, and we'll talk about specifics. So that is number 1. And that's largely where a lot of the F-bombs were. And then the other thing is, I need you to know that I am the kind of person that I will try anything. So if you've listened to episode 94, how I eat and train, and then I did a follow-up episode for that, you know how I've bucked the system. If you're new to my podcast, please go listen to those episodes because they're jam-packed with my experience and what I've learned and what made me go down rabbit holes of food, self-care, caring for my own body rather than relying on the medical system. I have experimented because I will do anything that will potentially make my life better or make my body feel good. And so that is including lots of drugs in the olden days and trying to feel better. And I jokingly say, I'd put crystals up my ass if I thought it would help. And spoiler alert, it doesn't. But the people who buck the system don't do so because, Instagram makes, or social media, or even the internet makes it seem like people can be crackpots. And I think I could be viewed as a crackpot in some cases, but I was in debilitating pain and nobody had answers for me. So people who seek alternative health, care, or start go to not extreme measures, but really focus on their own health, is usually because their needs weren't met in the medical system. Very quickly, if you don't recall, I had debilitating arthritis when I was 40. I could not get out of bed standing up. I could not hold a pencil. I went to all these specialists. Everybody wanted me on meds. I didn't want to be. Those meds were harsh. Arthritis meds are harsh. And I was like, let me see if I can suffer through this. Let me see. And I happened upon a website by Mark Sisson, who, by the way, Oh my God. I think by the time this podcast is released, I may have met him already. Anyway, I'm going to a health conference and this guy, Mark Sisson's going to be there and I get to actually meet him and like shake his hand. And I credit him with saving my life. Introduced me to the notion of higher fat, lower carb. And that grains cause inflammation, and inflammation is the root of all disease. So I immediately did high fat, low carb, and within 5 days, I could stand up. So I was dismissed routinely in visits, and I was routinely offered prescriptions, and nobody ever told me this. And I was shocked. So I Google this because I'm like, oh my God, this has to be fringe news. Nobody knows about this. It was right there on WebMD. Grains cause inflammation. So that's when I started going down. I can honestly say for food, I was red pilled in that moment when I was 40, and I started looking at the history of our food, the recommendations, what the doctors say, the peer reviewed research, the anecdotal research. I was just like buried in it because I was like, how could this make such a difference in my life? Within 2 weeks, I had my splits. I could stand straight up. My bags under my eyes went away. My skin cleared up, like a totally different body. And so that's the place I'm coming from. So I want you to know that. Um, let's go through the things that are stacked against us, because there is so much stacked against us, both as, as women and just general, the human race, society, that I feel like there's such a barrage coming at us at our health, at our wellness and our well-being and our mental state, that we have to take extraordinary measures to pull the pendulum in the other direction. And it's just like when I work with families, when we see this really crazy volatile behavior in kids, we have to sometimes pull the pendulum all the way. So we have to be very stringent with boundaries, very strict with routines. And it's not going to be that way forever, but that will help us settle in the middle. We can't just go from one violent end of the pendulum swing to settling in the middle. It has to, the physics, it has to go an equally violent swing the other direction. Violent is really the wrong word, aggressive. So I think that's how we have to approach it. When we really look at what's stacked against us, then we can say, holy shit, I kind of have to work double at sort of mitigating that. So the number one thing, absolutely, without a doubt, is we are not in a healthcare system anymore. We are in a sick care system. And this system is run by the absolute cartel that is known as insurance. And I am not exaggerating when I call it a cartel. It is awful and evil, and it needs to be dismantled. I don't see that happening, but anyway, the biggest thing is insurance companies now are in charge of all things to get approved. So all your testing, any preventative care, all these things that would really serve for prevention, but also just health and well-being, they're not approved. What are approved are procedures, prescriptions, and it's just become a sick care. And it's great. If you're sick, it's great. And I know some people have severe health issues. My mom was one of them. My bookkeeper is another one. They need that insurance, but it is awful if you are a perimenopause woman trying to get help. If you're a woman trying to get help, it is awful. Right from the get-go, I'm really trying hard not to swear. They weren't testing anything on on women, no tests. So they didn't know that heart attacks presented differently in women because they only tested on men, and women are little men, right? No. And we are 45th globally in maternal health care. 45th globally. That's like even more than the industrialized nations. That is criminal. We have the worst maternal health care, like for an industrialized country. Even if you have a great doctor who cares and will listen, they don't have time. They don't have time because their whole business is predicated on getting more people because of the cartel, because of the insurance. And then again, they may say, yes, great, you can do all this blood work or this, that, and the other thing, and then insurance won't improve it. So it really is awful, and you have to be ruthless when you are looking for these things. And very often you have to be willing to self-pay and or get a different doctor, like a functional doctor or naturopath, because your primary probably isn't going to handle a lot of these things. I have a new primary that I love, and I definitely think like Great. She saw me on a dime when I had that bronchitis. She wrote me out a Z-Pack. Yeah, that's awesome. That's what it's there for. I have seen her now for 2 yearly physicals, and as much as I love her, has never once asked about my hormonal health. And so, time. It's just time. So you just know that that's we're rubbing up against that. And so you have to be brutal, not only about your own preventative care, but you have to be brutal about what you want and asking for answers. And if your doctor is dismissive, fire them immediately. I personally, I would never have a male doctor as a female. That was my choice. But men especially tend to be dismissive, but women can too. And doctors can have that egotistical godlike thing going on. And you need to be extremely brutal. I have heard more cases, known several personally, of people who went in not feeling right, not sure, dismissed, told they had anxiety, given an antidepressant, an SSRI, told that it was their period, it was their ovaries, and had stage 4 cancer. So it doesn't present the way most doctors understand. So you just have to fight. Okay. The 9 to 5 workday is against us, especially if you work outside the home. I mean, working inside the home is totally valid, but the 9 to 5 workday was built for men. Okay. Their hormonal cycle is 24 hours. Ours is 28 days. So they go through dips and valleys throughout their day, but they don't experience what we experience in a month. And so, that's never going to change, that as far as I can see. So we know now how great it is when we can work with our cycle and knowing, the best times to get work done, the best time to be organized, the best time to have hard meetings, the best time to, be solo and a little softer and let the schedule wane a little. That it's just against us. And the other thing is that research is very clear now that women need 2 to 3 hours more sleep per day than men. So that is absolutely, and I think this plays into some of the wellness rhetoric you might see online, these like aggressive morning routines, these aggressive fasting routines. I personally like sauna, cold plunge, but a lot of women can't tolerate it, and that's okay. That was like never, these things were all like, they're all men driven, and men's biology is just so different than ours. We are up against $2 billion industries that we just can't discount. So the beauty and just beauty, never mind health and wellness. That's a whole nother $1 trillion industry. Beauty and anti-aging. So check out the beauty industry as of 2025 this year. The beauty industry is $677 billion big. The anti-aging, check this out. In 2023, it was 47 billion. This year, within the next decade, it is projected to go to 140 billion. Guess who's in that next decade? You guys. So you are getting barraged with this content on social media. You are getting barraged with other people taking up arms and it's crazy. These $2 billion industries are aimed at letting you know that every single thing about you is wrong, and it throws complete wrenches in our system. The anti-aging is infuriating to me because there are 2 things in life that are sure: death and taxes. We are dying. We are all dying, okay? And we are all aging. Every single day we age a little bit more. And so this anti-aging is so BS because it's like trying to hold back wild horses again, like I was talking about the teenagers rebelling. This is happening. And so the idea that we can stop it, that you can, use all these products that are endocrine disruptors, right? It's just something that we have to fight against. And everybody has their own things, like I shave, we have our own things that we feel beautiful. And so I'm not knocking any of it, but you have to be aware that this is a huge industry projected to triple in size because of women's insecurities. And I think, again, if all we do is spend our menopausal years fighting for youth, we're missing out on that magic portal that I talked about in the last episode. Okay, nutrition. We have egotistical and paid off scientists. The whole follow the science thing, guys, is so off because we know for a fact that we have paid off scientists. There were paid off scientists testifying in the R.J. Reynolds trials in the late 80s, I think, saying that cigarette smoking isn't addictive, cigarette smoking doesn't cause cancer. scientists can be paid, and worse, they are very egotistical. And that has completely screwed up our food system, the information we get, the recommendations. What the body truly needs is we're fast losing all of that. And it's now like peer reviewed science. And I can't believe that we need peer reviewed science to tell us that, Doritos aren't really great for the body. Like, I get it. They're delicious. I've fallen down a bag or two myself before, but it is not like that's how asinine we've gotten. The next thing stacked against us is parental hustle. It's just for real. And I talked about this in the last episode. So number one is we were never supposed to be in our menopausal years while our kids were going through their big tough years. And so it's not just that there's like a lot of hormonal action, because that's true for sure, but it's also the stress of teenagers, because there's college, there is driving, all these dating, all these things that are pretty big important things to be discussing and dealing with your teenagers, you're now doing later in life. And so at a time when you were really historically you'd be a grandmother by now, right? Like if we all had our kids at 23 like they used to, right? Only a generation ago, like my mom and her friends. Your kids, by the time you hit menopause, you'd be a grandmother. And then you could do grandmotherly things, right? Make Sunday dinner, babysit the kids, those kinds of things. So that hustle that has to happen these days with parenting, sports, college activities, even the stress you're going through right now, right? That we constantly talk about on this podcast is slowing down, not doing all the activities, not signing your littles up for sports, those kinds of things. These are stressors. And that it's the hormones, insulin and cortisol are just completely dictated by this. And so we have to acknowledge that. We can't go back and not have our babies, right? And for a lot of us, God, I should not have had a child before I had Pascal. Like I needed some time to bake myself. So it's neither good nor bad, but again, it's something we need to acknowledge so we can mitigate it. And of course, in general, we have more stress, the economy, the world, and we were just, again, never supposed to have access to everything all at once. So while yes, you need to be informed, you do need to be cautious of that, of like knowing every single thing, because that again will contribute to so much stress and just weaken the body in so many ways. Then there are the huge systemic things. Just again, maternal health care. We have no postpartum care, maternity, paternity leave, family leave, the price of daycare. Can't escape the feeling that there's a war on parents in some way, shape, or form when we just look at like the workday compared to the workday compared to the school schedule. Like who designed that? Like they should at least be flush. You know what I'm saying? The idea that, you can't get, like your child gets sick and you have to worry about your job. It's very insane. So we go back to the idea we change what we can and we try to control the things we can without gripping that control in any way, shape, or form. But we look, at least that's how I approach it, is like, okay, there are certain things. Of course, I can try to vote for things and I can try to be active in my local politics. I can try to get things changed. I don't have a lot of hope for that in my lifetime, but I will do those things. But ultimately, I know those are bigger things that I can't control. And so it's mitigating the damage that these things do to me. And it makes me be a little more stringent in my routine. So 2 things I want to take away from last episode, just to remind you, is that I think your 40s in general, and definitely perimenopause, which kind of coincide usually, I need you to remember, and I don't want you to cry about this, but statistically speaking, 40 is middle life. Okay, women, on average, our lifespan is around 80. Men, it's around 77, 78. So your 40s are midlife. I know I'm 56 and people say, oh, midlife. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to live to 112. But that is a report card on your health. And it's not a judgment. So if you're having a hard perimenopause, it's not a judgment. It is a time, though, I think that we need to do a 360 evaluation on lifestyle. And that includes everything. It includes your relationships. It includes friendships, your intimacy, is your marriage where you want it to be? Are there still gaping holes? How can you start to solidify that communication? Because now you're going to have the rest of your life with this person. How's it going so far? Like, do a check-in. I think that's really wise to do in any relationship, especially your marriage. You want to make changes where you can. And a thing, your women's brains literally change, and the doctors, the scientists call it like it's a switch goes off, and it's the I don't give a fuck switch. And it really happens. And I talked about it in the last episode. It is this like, oh, yeah, no, I just have no patience for BS anymore. Anybody's. It's just, and I'm not mad. I'm not rude. But I am abrupt because like, I'm just not playing anymore. And the problem is when that switch goes off, if you have a backlog of shitty relationships of like, just, high stress, everything's still really go. You're still having to attack life and it feels like you're drowning. You have to look at every area of your life and see where changes can be made, because otherwise that's where your rage is going to be unhinged. And yes, I think any woman I know has a low-grade seething rage just about all the time because of all those systemic things we talked about. But you don't want this backed up for menopause. I think it's going to damage your health, and I think it's going to damage your just your mind and some relationships. And I think it's a good time to say, like, too, that the body is the most wonderful machine. I don't know what you believe in. I believe in a design. I have a I believe there's design here, whether it's nature or the simulation, God. I don't know what it is, but I do know that there's a design and everything is synergistic in the body. So it is like important that we remember that the brain is part of our body and the hormones are part of our body, and not one thing is 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 the answer. It's everything works together so synergistically, and we can't discount our brain, and we really can't discount our relationships and how we are and show up in the world. The other thing about perimenopause that I want to remind you is that it is not a continuation of what you've been doing. It is a new version of you. It is a new stage of life, just like your teenagers go through a different stage, right? Like into that 12 to 18 guide, you are also shifting into a different person. And that means sometimes doing different things. And I want you to do these different things out of choice and not out of being backed into a corner, not out of rage and not out of desperation. I want you to do these as a choice. And it's really important to me for you guys because, and I wanted to acknowledge this anyway, is you guys are in a different season of life than me. And I really feel like I want to share this with you. Not that it's a cure-all, not that it will necessarily give you, totally regulated hormones or anything like that. But I feel like I want to give you this information because you're younger than me. And I started paying attention to these things when I was 40. And so it's been 16 years for me. And I think that, again, that contributes to why I'm having such a wonderful menopause, is because I've been at it a while. And I want you guys to have the chance to be at it a while. So you might experience the same benefits or at least less of the negatives. But you are in a very different season of life than me. I have a teenager. I have a lot more time. And I'm in a different stage. So I want to acknowledge that. And everything I'm about to say, I do not want you to feel overwhelmed. Okay. I don't want you to take this as just more to your already overflowing plate. If you need to, you can just bookmark this podcast and come back to it. But I just feel like you can take baby steps, but I just need to get the information out there because I feel like it's just a deluge right now. It's just a deluge of anti-aging and chasing youth. Okay? And so I think, let me see. Yeah, you can start baby steps now. And that's the good thing. And I'll go through a little bit more about this. So it's easier always to maintain things than to start from scratch. And it's also easier to build things than start from scratch. So anything I'm about to say absolutely can be started at any point in time. It can be started when you're 90 if you want. But of course you want to, like, you build these habits slowly. And so you need time on your side. It's like compounding interest. So there are 5 main things that I have switched. Some for like 16 years and some more recently. And so this is like movement and how I move my body, nutrition, sleep, rest, recovery, all as one, endocrine disruptors, and light, or the tenets of quantum biology. And I will go through these. I am going to throw a lot at you right now. I will do my best to like roughly explain some things. If you don't understand something or you're like, I don't really know what she's talking about, just Google it. Okay. Everything I'm about to say is highly Googleable. And so, um, and if you want me to expound on any of these, I'm happy to do. I could literally do a whole podcast on every single sentence that I've said in this podcast, even just so far. So I will be happy to do that, but I wanted to kind of get all the information in one. And then if we need to do, more details, just please let me know. Always let me know on Instagram in the comments somewhere. It doesn't even have to be apropos to the post. Or if you're in my OCRAP parenting community online, the OCRAP Cafe, you can let me know there. Don't leave messages on Spotify or Apple reviews. I can't, there's only so many places I can look for for feedback from people. So I don't look there. All right. Number one, movement. So I'm going to start with movement because I think this is the biggest dial mover for across the board. So even if you do nothing else that I tell you, this is key. And it is a huge dial mover for two things: because of your insulin and your cortisol. You need to move. Whatever you believe about the human body, it needs to move. When you look at our joints, when you look at our muscles, when you look at our skeleton, when you look at how people age, we know for a fact that the body needs to move. It doesn't necessarily have to be exercise, but well, it does, but we'll get to that. Lean muscle mass, you want to concentrate on building lean muscle mass. So this literally just means building muscle, because lean muscle mass is the organ of longevity for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's going to support your skeleton. So it helps with bone density, but it also will give you balance. It will give you independence. And that strength is what you will have later in life that allows you to be independent. It allows you to play with your grandkids. It allows you to be, have this vitality and spring to your step. And you want to really look towards that. And you really want to look towards advanced aging, which I know might be a stretch, especially if you're like in the throes of perimenopause. You're like, fuck off, Jamie. I don't want to hear about when I'm 90. But these are the things we want. Okay. 80 to 85% of the elderly die from complications from a fall, and that's because of sarcopenia, and that is muscle wasting. So when you see somebody who's thin, their skin is kind of loose, they get that crepe skin, and they don't have a lot of muscle tone, that's sarcopenia. That starts to happen to your body starting at 30. We start losing muscle at 30. This is for women. And so we have to fight for it. And so if you're in your 30s, if you're in your 40s and you don't have muscle, you want to start building it ASAP. If you do have muscle, you want to ramp it up a little bit, and you definitely want to focus on keeping it, if not building it. Every year that goes by, it gets harder to build. It is totally possible, but it takes more work and more focus and more concentration. So this is one of those where you want to start young. I find that my listeners kind of fall into three categories based on feedback from past episodes. So there are people who know nothing about working out, don't care for exercise. I've had listeners say, I don't like to sweat. I've never moved my body at all. I know I need to start. They don't know where to start. The next category tends to be knows some, does some, has worked out in the past, has looked at nutrition in the past. But this is a tricky season. You got kids, you got 3 under 3 or whatever. So getting to the gym, working out kind of takes a back seat. And so you can't get that momentum going. And then the third category tends to be people who do regular workouts. They somehow have made it part of their routine, even with kids. They are making time to go to the gym. And I don't say making time like a disparaging comment towards people who don't have the time. But they're not letting go of this. This is routine. This is happening. And so I'll kind of address all three categories as we go along, because I think they're all really important, and that's what I've kind of sussed out. So the number one complaint I hear about perimenopause is I'm doing exactly the same thing I was doing, and I'm gaining weight. I don't feel like myself. I have brain fog. A lot of people, myself included, I kind of felt a thickening. For me, it didn't manifest in weight gain, but it felt thicker. It almost felt like that that thing, what was it? Like, right before you get your period, you feel that one day, it's like right before you bleed, you get like thick, you feel thick, and maybe you've gained weight. But anyway, that's what I feel. This thing just popped into my head. I don't know if I said it in the last episode. So here's the trip about menopause. Menopause is defined as going a year without bleeding, right? You don't know when that is. You don't know when that is. So you don't know when the last bleed is. So that's why there's menopause babies. So be extra careful because you may not get your period for 6 months and you think you're in the clear, but you are still ovulating. So menopause can actually be like you get a period every 6 months for a while. And so there are menopause babies. And we used to know that. We used to call them that. It's like when you have grown kids and all of a sudden you have a baby. So I wanted to let you know that. And also it's really interesting because I was like, oh my God, there's going to be this one day where that thick feeling doesn't result in bleeding. Because for me, it always was like right before my period, I would feel thick and then like I'd bleed and I'd be like, oh, it felt like the drainage or something. And so there will come that time that it doesn't come. But okay, but again, going back to the number one complaint, that doing the same thing, but now everything's changed. Yeah, again, does that indicate that your estrogen has dropped or that your progesterone's going away or maybe you're estrogen dominant? Yes, it could suggest some things going on with your reproductive hormones, of course. But I also think that like this is time to switch gears. If what you're doing isn't working, it's not a continuation, it's time to switch gears. And so whatever that looks like, whatever your starting point is in those categories that I just listed, you definitely want to think about changing what you're doing. So if you're doing nothing, you want to start doing something. If you're doing something with regularity and consistency, you want to maybe switch it up. So this is a time you've got to start thinking about this as like a change for you. They used to call it the change, right? You're becoming a different person. This is a portal. And so it's just not quite as obvious as pregnancy or puberty. So we kind of have to embrace it and look again at that 360 evaluation and start doing something different. So here's what I've really switched. In movement, I switched instead of group fitness or HIIT workouts, which are high intensity interval workouts. That tends to be what you're going to get if you're in a group class. So you work really hard, you rest a little bit, you work really hard. Group fitness can be anything from it can be anything from Orange Theory to, group workout classes, but anything when you're in a group is not going to be what I switched to. And I switched to progressive overload. I'll talk more about that. I stopped doing steady state cardio. So steady state cardio is when you go and run and you're at the same pace. You're on the elliptical, you're on the treadmill, you're on a rower, but you are at the same pace. Steady state cardio is not great for menopausal women and perimenopausal women. You want to switch to sprints. Again, we'll talk about all of this. I upped my NEAT. So NEAT is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is all the stuff you do besides a formal workout. A lot of people, this is like when you see people counting steps. So steps are NEAT. And so those are very easy to get more steps, right? You can park a little farther. You can go up the stairs instead of the elevator. All those things that we used to think was kind of goofy advice. No, it's real. So you want to maybe get a step counter, but you do want to pay attention to your non-exercise activity thermogenesis because in general, we're just too sedentary. And then adding regular explosive movements, which means jumping for bone density. So I'll go very quickly through progressive overload. This is one of those terms, feel free to Google. There, you'll pull up so much stuff. This looks like typical weightlifting. So whenever you see somebody in a gym with a barbell or dumbbells, but they're lifting weights in a controlled manner, very stationary, like their arms might be moving, but they're not doing like jumping jacks or they're not moving aggressively. It's slow and steady. That is progressive overload. So it looks like weightlifting. It's slow, it's in control, and there's not a lot of movement. You start low. So just the term progressive overload. So you want to start with a weight that's comfortable. And for some of you, that might be 2 pounds. It might be 5 pounds. And then you want to progress. You want to do these exercises, a set of exercises till that weight gets easy. And then you want to go up. and then you do those, you pick stuff up till it gets easy, and then you pick stuff up that's heavier. It gets heavier and heavier over time. So then you are lifting heavy. So when you hear that menopausal women should lift heavy, it doesn't mean you need to go out of the gates and lift heavy weights. It means you progressively overload these exercises. It is methodical and repetitious. Therefore, for a lot of people, they think it's boring. It is methodical and measurable. You want to track your weights. You want to track how many things you're doing. Usually you work in sets. So you might do 3 sets, and then there are repetitions within that set, which can be anywhere from 6 to 12 repetitions. When you're lifting some dumbbells and you can lift them over your head for 3 times, 12 times within each time, that means it's time to go up in weight. So it's really easy, but people like to complicate it, especially in Instagram influencers, and make it look like rocket science. You should be measuring, you should be tracking your weight. How many can I do? And again, it's very methodical. So for a lot of people, it seems boring. It typically goes in 12-week cycles. Then you would switch the exercises slightly. These again look like deadlifts, back squats, bench press, dumbbell presses. There's a myriad of exercises you can do. But even if you were to do those 3 compound lifts, you would hit just about every muscle in your body and you would be in really good shape. So again, it's not moving around with a lot of weights in your hands. That is a HIIT exercise, high intensity interval workout. So if you're doing jumping jacks, if you are doing jump squats and you have weights in your hand, by nature, those weights have to be light. They have to be like 5 to 8 pounds typically, maybe 10, maybe 15 if you're really strong, but you're not really going to be able to go up any higher because you're moving too fast. You're moving too aggressively and you will hurt yourself. So the only way to build muscle, like build the muscle you need for aging well, is by progressive overload. And okay, I was resistant. I was resistant to progressive overload. And I said the things. I said that I was too bored. I get bored. I like to do what I like to do. I have some fun exercises that I do. I get it. And I also loved group fitness because it was taking care of me. It was social. It was a driving music and it was that kind of thing. So it took a long time to come to progressive overload. I will tell you that everything you want is on the other side of progressive overload. I am such a proponent for it now. And I feel like I really feel like a douche for like not taking it on earlier. Like I thought I was special and I'm not. And so I'll say a little bit more about that. Heart rate. So what happens when you move around with a lot of weights is your heart rate goes up into a cardio zone. Cardio is not an exercise, and we'll get to this when we talk about sprinting. Cardio is a heart rate. So you can do cardio even if you're not running or on a machine. Like if you do, 60 jumping jacks and you're out of breath and look at your heart rate has gone up. So that's what it's really important to distinguish, because a lot of people think cardio is an exercise, just like they think sprinting is an exercise, and it's not. It's a heart rate. And if you're getting your heart rate up with a lot of weights, it means you can't go up in weight because you will hurt yourself. You'll be out of control. So now when you're in perimenopause, you have to be doing this. I forget to mention too that when you build your lean muscle, it soaks up glucose. So that's how you keep insulin in check. Anybody with a glucose problem knows that the advice is if your glucose spikes, you go for a walk. That is the fastest way to get exercise, is the fastest way to get your blood sugar down, because activity soaks up the glucose and uses it. And so that's why it's great for managing insulin problems, which again are type 2 diabetes, PCOS, all these things that have to do with insulin resistance and metabolic disease, which by the way are the cause of more cardiac events than anything. So we definitely want that lean muscle mass. And so you definitely want to take this on at any stage in your life, but this is vital for perimenopause. You may have to start with very small weights. Those pink weights, the little 5-pounders, you may have to start with those, and that's okay. You start where you are and then you build. And I have so many friends who do this, and they've started by not working out. They started with 5-pound weights and now they're moving 20-pound weights and exercising with it. So it's amazing how fast you can build muscle. It does take work. It does take consistency, but you want to start with those little baby pink 5-pounders. And then your goal is to ditch the baby pink. weights. You want to get rid of those as soon as possible, not rushing the process. But I can't stand when I see people chronically doing exercise with those little weights. They're not building muscle. That is not what's getting you toned. It's also time, like I said, to ditch group fitness. If you are serious about this, and especially those of you who already have crafted a routine and your routine is around group fitness, you've got to get into progressive overload. You just have to. It's Orange Theory, Zone 2, all of these, they just don't build the muscle that you're going to need later, especially as muscle wasting gets more and more prevalent as you age. Now, a lot of times people will say like, well, it's better than nothing. Yes, absolutely. Anything is better than nothing, 100%. And if you are doing nothing, start walking. Start walking with your kid on your back. Amazing. Start with 10 minutes. Amazing. Start with 1 pound weights. Amazing. Anything is better than nothing, but we're also looking for optimal health. So we want to keep our eye on the prize and focused on continuing the process. And I can tell you right now, we had my old gym that I did all those races with. We had a thing where, there was a sort of a separation, and a lot of my friends had to go to this other gym, and they're still doing group classes, all having horrible perimenopauses, and they're nothing's moving the dial because they insist on group classes. They want the variety. That's the only thing they can do. Great. Okay. But I have one friend who's complaining. I'm doing everything and I'm gaining weight and nothing's shifting. And I was like, you got to switch to progressive overload. No, 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 no. I'm not doing that. So it's one of those things like this, everything is on the other side of progressive overload. You will get toned. You will not get too bulky. Women are afraid of lifting weights because they're afraid of getting bulky. You can't. The people that you see that appear bulky or really muscly work like freaking maniacs to get there. You cannot get too bulky. You can get too bulky by a calorie excess. Yeah, you can, but that's not from lifting weights. So don't worry about that. You'll look toned. Your confidence goes through the roof. Your muscles will eat up the glucose, helping with your energy because there's no blood sugar spikes. It keeps everything steady. Your mood will improve and your lean muscle mass will keep you independent and you will be strong as fuck. And there is nothing a better feeling, especially in today's climate. There is nothing better than feeling confident. Me and my friends, I used to win pull-up contests. I've gone to like fairs and stuff. They have those military setups where you have to do pull-ups. Yeah, I've kicked guys' asses. Beating guys at pull-ups is the number one confidence booster. You will swagger through any situation. So I cannot state this enough, okay? So what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to link in the show notes. I'm going to link a few things. I want to set you up with two people that I really love. One, her name is Cheryl Colomb, I think. I'm going to link her YouTube channel. She does 3 30-minute full body dumbbell workouts at home, and it's free on YouTube. I love her. She's in her 50s. She's very real. She's just great. And so she's a wonderful thing for a beginner. And I'm also going to link, if you're a little more advanced and want a progressive overload program, I'm going to link you to Mind Pump Media. They have a podcast that I love. And they have several programs, and one's called Muscle Mommy. I don't love the name, but people rave about it when they have call-in questions. And I am doing a couple of their programs, and I love it. They have excellent progressive programming. I will say if you're a beginner, I would start with Cheryl's. She's very beginner friendly. Mind Pump Media is more for the advanced. So Cheryl does her whole workout through. So you just have to watch that video. It's like an old exercise video. You just follow along. She does the sets and reps with you. Whereas Mind Pump Media is, their programs are set up where there's a video for every exercise, but they give you a blueprint of the workout and then you have to kind of look at the videos. And so if you're a beginner, it'd be really kind of challenging to piece it together. I find it's good for like a person who kind of knows their way around the gym. Also, please don't be intimidated of gyms. If you can get away, join a gym. They are wonderful. And anybody in the gym will help you. Anybody will help you. I swear. And the other day I went into the gym and there was this girl and she was doing a lot of dumbbell exercises with 20-pound weights. And she was between sets and she took her headphones off. So I approached her and I could tell she was looking a little defeated. And I said, I want you you're strong, right? Like all the exercises you just did with 20-pound weights, like you're strong. And she was like, oh my God. And she like almost broke down, and she said, do you know how much that means coming from you? I've watched you for a couple of months and you are my goals. And it was just this great moment of like, I said, we got to hype each other up. Like, this is not cool because guys can lift so much on their upper body. And so we had this like hype girl moment in the gym, and it was awesome. And I said, she said, I'm worried about my form. I haven't been in the gym in a while. I said, ask me anything. Like, people are so friendly in the gym. You can ask just about anybody. Am I doing this right? Could you look at this? They'll help you. Nobody's looking at you to judge you except the teenage boys, and they're there around 3. Don't look at them. They're obnoxious. Hire a trainer. If you can't afford it, hire a trainer. If they can come to your house, great. Go to the gym, hire a trainer to watch your form. Lifting weights is serious business, even at lower weights. So you want to make sure you have good form, and you want to make sure you're doing it correctly and have good programming. And then I'm also going to link you to an Instagram account called This Woman Lifts. Her name's Elizabeth. I think it's Elizabeth Davies. Fucking amazing. She just has amazing content, and she's the one, you've probably seen it if you're on Instagram. Like, I'm not training for my summer body. I'm training for my old lady body. She really calls out beauty industry and the bullshit in the fitness industry. She's amazing. So that's a really good thing. All right, steady state cardio, ditch it, please. I know people love their runs. I know even if you're a long distance runner, but it isn't good for perimenopause. It's not good for your hormones. It's not good for lean muscle mass. You want to switch to sprints, and you have to do the bare minimum. It's four 30-second sprints twice a week. So you're doing 8 30-second sprints twice a week. And again, sprinting being a cardiac heart zone, not an exercise. You can sprint doing air jumps, squats, air squats, which is like just jumping up and down. You can do jumping jacks, jumping rope. You can do broad jumps, which is just jumping as far as you can. You can do it on the rebounder. You could do it on the bike, on the rower. It can be anything. It's elevating your heart rate, and that's it. Okay. And the thing about cardio, steady state cardio, that sucks is that it burns calories while you're doing it, and then it stops the minute you stop. When you build lean muscle mass, you burn calories all day long. And hopefully we're not all obsessed about that, but it really is, it will take care of all your needs, the progressive overload. I also think women have just been convinced to cardio as weight loss. And yeah, if you're in a cutting phase of bodybuilding, fine, but it's not going to help you at all in building that muscle mass. Okay, NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So these are steps, right? Because it's really not effective. If you do a hardcore workout once a day, you are and then sit for the rest of the day in your car on the commute and then in your office. Like, it's so much better to get exercise throughout the day. Just walking. So as a mom, I'm sure you're doing things up and down the stairs. You probably have a lot of neat exercise going on. This is where people wear fitness watches. I choose not to. Once in a while, I'll put it on just to see what my steps are. I regularly get around 20,000, so I don't really sweat it. But if you're not used to moving, you might get a watch so that you can count your steps, so that you know, okay, I'm doing X amount. The Apple phone has a health. I don't know about Android, but it's wildly off. So just know that. As the Apple Watch, there's some discrepancy usually in step counts too, but it just helps you stay a little motivated, I think. And then your explosive moments are for bone density. And again, these are just very basic, just a couple here and there. Just jump. And jump far, jump up, play leapfrog with your kids. I think this is one of the easier things to fit into your lifestyle, but when you have kids. I will say this about movement. Intensity will never, ever replace consistency. So again, something is always better than nothing. And if you have little kids, you can't leave the house, you can't get to the gym, get yourself a set of dumbbells and just start with something. There's so many videos on YouTube. You really can't go wrong. Just start with a walk. If you've never really walked before, walk around the block, try to get your steps. If you're doing 2,000 steps a day, try to get up to 3,000, but show up for yourself every day. And that will be far better than any intensity. So a lot of people who don't do anything or don't know how to start, whatever, they get an idea in their head, they find a program or they buy some weights or they go to the gym and they come out of the gates hard, and then they get burnt out, they get injured, or they're like, I can't keep this up. So they just let it go. 10 minutes a day. If you can do 10 minutes a day, do it. Do little exercise snacks. That's what they're called now, exercise snacks. You're waiting for dinner, the soup to cook, whatever you got going for dinner, do 10 squats. You can always be doing something. I personally love a workout, but I like to keep myself moving during the day. It's just sort of my personality, but you can fit this in, okay? And I know it's challenging, but again, if you start now, you can start building and building and building. Then you start feeling better. And then you're like, oh, I got to join a gym. I'm up to heavier weights. I don't want to buy all these weights. I got to go to the gym. All right. Now moving on. So that was movement. So now I'm going to do nutrition. Again, episode 94 talks a lot about this. So I will just kind of run through some things. Absolutely. Remember in last week's episode, I talked about things that I think are contributing to making perimenopause so much harder for women right now. And the low fat craze absolutely 100% contributed to this. So we need to eat saturated fat, lady. You do need to have some fat on your body. So when you see these women who are lean and jacked and all, you're like, and you can see a six pack, that is diet. And that is usually a hungry woman. And that is a woman whose hormones are going to tank. Okay. This is women. Typically we just have more fat on our body, but we need to eat saturated fat. And this is always such a hard pull. You want to eat fatty meat. You want to use tallow, butter, ghee, lard. You want to add saturated fat into your diet. And I know so many women in this day and age who are still on the low fat craze. And yes, I understand if you've lost a lot of weight doing it and it was for your health, I get it, but we still need that saturated fat. Two things that I want to say very quickly. Cholesterol produces your hormones, all of them. Yeah. It's responsible for your hormones. And it helps regulate your hormones. It actually helps you also regulate your nervous system, and it is far more nourishing. You stay fuller longer, so you want to make sure you're getting saturated fat. The AMA in 2013 very quietly lifted their cap on how much saturated fat you should eat. And so it used to be very, very low, and they took the cap off in 2013, and it was very quiet, and they didn't say anything because there were a bunch of egotistical paid off scientists who couldn't be wrong, and the doctors didn't want to be wrong, and so they just quietly did this without telling people that it was damaging their health. So go back to some saturated fat. As you guys know, I eat animal based. My whole food red pill was when I was 40, and I realized I had been hoodwinked about everything I knew about food. I can't stress how much animal-based I think is the way to go and how much it has helped me. Speaking of which, protein. You probably hear a lot of rhetoric about protein, eat your protein, eat your protein. So generally speaking, you want a gram of protein per pound of body weight. And that they usually say your desired body weight. So but I don't like to do that because women have unrealistic desires for their body weight. But I would say around 120 grams is pretty safe for just about anybody. And if that seems like a lot, you're not eating enough. I particularly have very high protein needs. I eat about 175 to 180 grams, and that's where I feel best. But you need to experiment a little bit with that. The thing about measuring protein that a lot of people get confused is you need a food app. Okay. So there's several. There's MyFitnessPal. I use Carb Manager. There's all different ones. You can just pick your one because the grams of protein, that's not something you can weigh and measure. You can learn that 4 ounces of chicken breast equal roughly 35 grams of protein. But a lot of people get confused that the weight of the protein itself, the weight of the meat, say, that is the grams of protein. That's not how it works. And that has people way under eating protein. So you do need a food scale, and you need a tracker. I don't want you doing this. I don't want you doing this if it's going to make you cuckoo. I don't want you doing this if you've had eating disorders and tracking is going to send you off. But I like to track and measure to make sure I'm eating enough. And I love that reframe. And that's helped me like 1,000%. So it can be helpful in determining portion sizes, in determining, like, when you read a label, the labels, guys, when you start measuring just even a little bit, not every day, not maniacally, but you start doing it just a little bit. And like measure out peanut butter. It's going to make you cry. So it just kind of gives you a heads up a little bit on like how much you're eating, what you're eating, how many grams of protein, because you also want to take in enough fat. And fat for women has to be around 35% of your calories. Dipping below that and you start fucking with your hormones in a major way. So if you are eating below 35% of your caloric intake, you're in trouble hormonally. You're going to be in trouble. So that's why I really do suggest tracking and measuring just for a short amount of time to get an idea and be like, holy cow, I am nowhere near my protein. I am nowhere near my fat. And so then you can start playing around with that because this is crazy. This, of course, is, for everything, for hormones, producing hormones, regulating hormones, but the number one thing with thyroid and thyroid hormonal problems is not eating enough. And just today, I saw at least 3 posts of grown women eating 1,200 calories. Oh my God. And this is where I dropped so many F-bombs that I had to re-record. Guys, that's what a toddler needs to eat, okay? That is not a grown woman. Please, please, please. Your baseline is to grow hair and breathe is your body weight times 10. That is your grow hair and breathe. Add in your activity level and you're gonna, it's crazy. So please, 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 please don't undereat. Eat more and eat more fat, okay? And don't be tied. Calories are kind of nonsense because calories don't translate actually into a body. They're in a lab. They're a unit of measurement of energy burned. But yes, there are laws of thermodynamics, but they don't always apply, and it really varies. I'm going to burn calories different than you because I have a lot of lean muscle mass. I've been working out. I'm metabolically well. This is going to affect me. I hover around 2,500 calories a day. But don't sweat about like 100 calories or like, oh my God, it's this, like it's really impossible to track exactly what's going on with calories. So this is all rough numbers. So don't wind yourself up about that because that's just crazy. And then the last thing I think is no alcohol. Most women report that alcohol hits differently, that it makes you more tired, more hungover. Alcohol is definitely messing with your hormones. It messes with your insulin. It makes cortisol worse. It gives you that momentary relaxation. Of course, it gives you a nice little dopamine spike, but in the end, it lowers your dopamine down past your baseline. So you're ending up lower, which sucks. It increases anxiety the next day. It has a myriad. The Surgeon General said no amount is safe. And I just think it doesn't help motherhood at all. So honestly, it's just a really good time to give it up. I know that's a big one. And a lot of people, I've said a lot of stuff that you're probably bucking against up already, but a lot of people fight that. But honestly, if it's once in a great while, who cares then anyway, but if you're using it daily to unwind and to handle anxiety, just try to give it up. And I hear all the time about, other countries and Italy, they always, they drink so much wine. Yeah, they do everything in Italy that we don't do here. They do everything. They eat dinner at 10 o'clock at night. They have sugar in the morning. They have a different lifestyle. They walk more. They have much more community. Their food is grown differently than ours. It's apples to oranges, and you can't compare. If you are a mom who's having a glass of wine by herself or with, maybe with your partner because your kids stressed you out and you need a break, that's not the same as having a glass of wine in Italy with as an Italian. So let's recognize that and know that it's not really a great thing to be dealing with. Okay, next big category. And I tried to get this episode under, but it's looking like an hour and 15. So sorry, guys. You can listen to it in parts. Endocrine disruptors. This is very quick. We talked a little bit about this. We are surrounded by endocrine disruptors. So this is one of those things that knowing what you're up against, I don't want you to get maniacal about this. I don't want you to get crazy or stressed, and move slowly in ditching endocrine disruptors, but they're everywhere. So one of the things, of course, is microplastics. And it's estimated now that we are eating about a credit card worth of microplastics every week, which is really disturbing, but can't do anything about it. Like, we are surrounded by plastic. I'm touching plastic right now. It's in my headphones, my computer, my stand, my car. It's everywhere, right? I have fleece clothes. Those are microplastic. Like, it's everywhere. So the world runs on plastic right now. Not a whole lot we can do about it. So what we have to do is mitigate it in other ways. And so endocrine disruptors, you can Google this, but there's the big ones are dryer sheets, laundry detergent, fabric softener, anything fragrance. So your scented candles, your Yankee candles, these are all endocrine disruptors. Laundry detergent, dish detergent, deodorant, fragrances, skincare products, makeup. These are the big ones. Your shampoo, your conditioner, all of these things. These can be endocrine disruptors. So you want to look for, you want to look at changing these out, and you can easily Google like how to find, it doesn't have to be all natural. I don't necessarily love that vibe. I think it's very misleading, but you definitely don't want fragrances. And Febreze, Lysol, anything like those, these are all endocrine disruptors, meaning they interrupt your endocrine system, which is responsible for all your hormones. And I think this is a huge part of why we're having such a hard time, because there was such an uptick in these products. And we are so scent oriented. And I would start, like, if you don't know where to start and that sounds all very overwhelming, just replace one product at a time. I would definitely start with skin. I would start with laundry detergent, not using dryer sheets. You can get wool balls that function the same, take the static out, not using fabric softener. I would start there, because your clothes, your sheets that you sleep on for 8 hours a night, hopefully, or 6 or 4, your clothes, everything that's going to be on your skin constantly. And then the next thing I would look for is skincare products, because your skin is your organ, your biggest organ. Actually, muscle is, but skin is second, I think. And we absorb it. So again, it's a deluge. It's a barrage on the body. So we can't do anything about the plastic in general terms, but we can do stuff about those things. And again, don't get psycho. Like I see a lot of people online, like the crunchy mom the crunchy mom who burned herself out. Like, you don't have to be crazy about this, one thing at a time, and start noticing. But especially for our kids who are now born into like this saturated world, right? So it's something to keep in mind. Okay. Sleep, rest, recovery. Once you start working out, you want to allow time for your muscles to recover. We really need to be getting more sleep, guys. And I know, and I'm not speaking to you moms who, I know you're in the depths of it right now with little ones up all night, newborns. I'm speaking more to like just later, and maybe trying your very best going to bed earlier if you can, instead of like getting that me time. I talk a lot about that. But this is for everything. This is for thyroid, cortisol, insulin, brain functioning, keeping your brain active, and your melatonin. That's so important. Your melatonin is a hormone too. So do your best. I take sleep very seriously. I mean, I just take it so seriously. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next little section. But yeah, get sleep and rest. And sometimes rest is just, do you rest? And again, I know you're busy moms. I can't like, I'm not telling you just need to rest more, but like even 5 minutes of just looking outside, or just letting your mind be still for just a little minute, can be so beneficial. Doesn't have to be a nap, doesn't have to be a meditation, and just not that what's the word I'm looking for? Dissociated zone out that we all do, right? Because like we're so fried, we just kind of zone out. It could be that too, but you want to do some active rest. All right, now I'll move on. The quantum biology stuff. So this is the small things. I did an episode with Sarah Kleiner, a wellness, about this. Like, these are the small things that we can change, but they largely have to do with our light environment. And this has everything to do with sleep as well. So this is another huge barrage to the system. We used to be able to buy incandescent lights. I heard that they made it legal again. For a while, you couldn't get incandescent lights anywhere. They switched over to all LED. LED lights emit a lot of blue light. And unless you've lived in a cave, I'm sure you've heard about blue light. It's the spectrum of light that we see the most in our phones, in LED lights, headlights. It's all around us. It's in our big overhead bucket lights. If you have big lights in your house, chances are they're LED. And the problem with blue light is it's part of the light spectrum that in our circadian rhythm dictates to our body, sends the signal to our body that it's daytime and we should be awake and alert. The problem is that we're using these devices and these lights early in the morning before sunrise, potentially, and way after sunset. And they're the same intensity throughout the day. So with the sun, when you go out for sunrise, the sun's not crazy intense. And then as we get, especially in the summer months here in the Northeast, as we get closer to noon, it gets hotter. They say, then it gets hotter, 1, 2, and then it starts to cool down, right? So there's this spectrum of heat and intensity of the sun. We don't have that with the LED lights. It's just this bright, bright thing. So your body now thinks it's okay, let's be alert, let's be awake. And that starts to stress everything out, your cortisol, because we're not supposed to be awake and alert all this time. So definitely there are some things you can do. These things have to do with all the hormones, all of them, that then again start the cascade that keep reproductive hormones supported as well. Cortisol, insulin, melatonin, thyroid, and oxytocin, it hits them all. So very small things you can do. Sunrise and sunset are where you're going to get the best light, the best red light, and a fuller spectrum. So that's why those red lights are so in favor. I recommend them. We've talked about that. Red light therapy is so helpful to mitochondria and ATP production because it mimics firelight, and it's that softer glow of sunrise and sunset. If you can get outside for sunrise and sunset, even for 10 minutes, look directly at the sun. It's not that strong. That is awesome. That is awesome for your melatonin. Sunrise helps you release melatonin later. Sunset signals to your body it's time to go to bed. Now, obviously, none of us really go to bed at sunset except me. I do. But that's why you would want some blue blockers. Okay. And I used to think they were I was like, I got a cheap pair off of Amazon because I was like, I'm not investing in a pair if these things make a difference. And I kind of wore them on and off. I didn't really notice something. And then I started wearing them religiously, along with changing all my lights in my house to red light after sunset. And first of all, it's a vibe. Like you got a little Amsterdam rolling in your house. That's fun. This is awesome for kids. I think this is why kids are struggling so much with sleep, because we have the overhead lights. And even if you don't have overhead lights, your light bulbs are still LED. And so the red light helps. And then the blue blockers will help with if you're watching some television. And television now looks to me like, it almost looks like candy. It's so weird. I have filters on my phone. I like a grayscale. It just takes the color away from my phone. But you can also, if you go into your settings, you can find where you can actually filter out the blue light. You can do that for your computer too. It is a little jarring at first. And if you do a job that relies on color, like when I'm filming for Instagram, I have to put it back on the regular, so that I can see what the actual color looks like. But it is so helpful. You can immediately feel relief in your eyes, just relief from not the colors. And it is wild because now when I turn my phone to regular colors, it almost makes me want to throw up. The colors are so jarring. And so I can only imagine, it's like I feel it in my nervous system. I don't know anything about like what that might be doing to the body, but it's so visceral that I'm like, I'm way into it. And then I started wearing blue blockers at night. I like to watch a little television while I'm stretching, and that has been awesome. My phone never goes in my bedroom. My sleep environment is cool. I do like, that is where I spend money. I buy my clothes at Goodwill, but I spend money on my bed, my mattress, my pillows, my sheets, because it's where we spend a third of our lives. So, and having that sleep environment, I have never had night sweats. I sleep through the night. I'm not having that menopausal wake up. A lot of women report a 3 a.m. wake up. I don't have that, maybe because I get up at 4. But yeah, those are the big things. And so I also think that managing stress and cortisol has to do with your, like when you wake up. So for example, I wake up before the sun, so it's all red lights. Uh, you should not be having coffee on an empty stomach. We know that. So you should definitely eat within either a half hour of waking up or a half hour within sunrise. So I usually walk Maverick in the dark. We see the sunrise. I come home and I eat. So the reason that you do that is because your cortisol is the highest when you wake up. So if then you have a cup of coffee on an empty stomach, you've upped your cortisol again. Now you go and work out fasted without any food in your stomach, and you've really triggered your cortisol. Remember that cortisol has to do with adrenal function, right? And your adrenals take over for your ovaries. So if you're not supporting your adrenals now, you're going to be screwed when your ovaries give out. Okay. So that's what I mean by doing these things that we can, managing the stress, right? I know you are probably in a very stressful part of life. You're in a stressful season. So again, you can't change that. We can't make kids just behave and be quiet when we want them to, but we can, steal these moments of stillness. We can definitely replace lights with red light bulbs. We can definitely eat before coffee. Like, some of these are just small dial movers that have a huge effect. And while we can't control so many other aspects, we can just try these. So again, start slow. Start slow with any of this, and then build it into your routine and make it part of your family culture. Pascal actually loves the red lights now. He mocked me at first, but now it just creates such a vibe that he likes it. All right. Again, if you guys have any questions, if you want me to expound on any of these and do like a whole podcast on just one of these, I actually could do that. Sorry this was so long. I know you guys tend to like a shorter podcast, but yeah, I didn't want to do a part 3. So thank you for hanging in there with me. And as always, I super appreciate you guys. I want to be so clear because whenever we start talking about menopause and hormones, people who need HRT are very defensive of that, and that and I want to be clear, so clear, that if you need HRT, get HRT. I am not against HRT. I just haven't needed it yet. And again, the things I've listed today, I don't think are magical pills. I think if you start doing these things in menopause, you probably won't see any great dial movers. You will see, I think, dial movers if you really start paying attention to this stuff as early as you can. And I'm hoping I'm hitting you guys around 30s, 40s. I actually don't know how old most of you are. So if anybody wants to chime in on that. All right, guys, I appreciate you, love you. And as always, rock on. Have an awesome day. Thanks for listening.
Okay, bye everyone. Just a reminder, if you need additional resources, I have Oh Crap Potty Training. I have Oh Crap, I Have a Toddler. Those books are available everywhere you want to find a book. You can also go to my website, jamieglowacki.com, where you can book private sessions with me, buy any of my courses. Those are really geared towards potty training help. And also, I'm on Instagram. I'm not on Facebook anymore, and I'm not on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, jamie.glowacki, and I do a lot of lives and usually posting a lot of good information. So those are extra resources for you. And as always, rock on. Have an awesome day.